All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Hanamonogatari, episode 3.
Kaiki is back.
Yes, he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
We have Kaiki back. We have a very unique potential family dynamic going on here. I'm hopping around with parental theories
He's the dad.
He's
the dad.
around right now.
Whether or not he's the dad, he's the dad. Like,
but he may not. He may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's something where very much we were reminded about Kambaru's family situation with the car crash, but within the context of this, Kambaru needing those that can be close to her to help her and be on call, essentially, just in case she requires assistance with something.
Like eating meat, you know? Like, okay.
But she now has a little bit more information regarding Rouka.
Yes, that is very true.
So I think that's the next order of business, is these two need to talk again now that they have a little bit more equal footing to discuss things.
And Ogi is probably going to continue to be sneaky.
Right. Things continue to evolve with Ogi. In a way that, I am very much like, okay, what's your deal, Ogi?
I don't trust Ogi.
Well, of course not. But like Ogi is bad news, really bad news. So, if we get even the slightest bit of just a recollection of what was going on with Kaiki, though, in the last episode,
that's
gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to see Kambaru now take some decisive action based on this kind of good establishing foundation that we got in the beginning here.
Boy.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, we're going to be starting the episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Okay. Rouka.
Oh. Took it back. Okay. Okay.
Don't try to stop them, as he said. Right, because he's not going to lie, but... Wow.
Okay.
Well, maybe based on seeing that Kaiki already ascertained who it was, even though, well, apparently he knew beforehand anyway. He just got confirmation that it happened already. Sure.
You're gonna play some basketball?
This is their arena, after all.
Yeah, exactly.
Place that they both understand.
I'd like to have a good conversation.
So what's the purpose of assembling the pieces and creating a demon devil or something like that? Like, what's your thing, Rouka?
Because this is all past stuff they're showing here. Also, why flower? Like, they've had plenty of flower bits of, like, symbolism and things like that in here. But, like, how does it pertain to Kanbaru's story? Is it maybe growth or starting fresh or young love?
I can see the young love thing.
That end.
Yeah, that end is so ominous.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Kanbaru is off balance a lot.
Yeah.
And Rouka doesn't need the crutch. Whoa. Dang.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay. Kanbaru just can't make the connections happen.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh, okay. Now she's finally getting back into the swing of things here.
But definitely down a few on points.
Basketball is still bouncing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Wow.
You can.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
Good conversation.
Mm-hmm. While omitting Araragi.
like you've been doing.
Right.
You just find nothing.
Let's keep this wholesome. But now Rouka can. Okay. I get what you mean by that. So now tell me about the 3 years. Yeah.
But we just saw in a previous arc how eventually it catches up with you.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm. And she's short, so maybe it'd be
Right.
like a limiter.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Whoa. Yeah. Oh.
Interesting.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, running away, yeah. Perfunctory. Whoa.
Interesting.
Oh. Dang.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted someone she could look down on. She'd told you that?
What if that was Sengoku? There's no way, but...
Hmm.
Mm.
Wow.
Jeez.
Whoa. Wow. All right.
Wow. No. No, it wasn't. definitely not Sengoku.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then she thought it was you that did it.
Mm-hmm. Nice investment.
She was gonna keep doing it.
Uh-huh. Oh.
That's interesting. But you couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah. Wow.
This is true.
Yep. Yep.
Right. Huh.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Oh. Okay.
Wow.
Awesome. We now know Rouka's first part of her story.
Mm-hmm. Have we ever had a part in Monogatari where pretty much the entire episode was a conversation, and yet it only seemed to go halfway through the conversation? Because usually I feel like when like
rather than
Monogatari's
having
had
the
plenty of times-
conversation actually completing.
right? Because usually it'll get to some very important point, and this one did.
Yeah, I'm
right?
sure there
But-
are. I'm sure there are plenty. Yeah, because it's not that it's actually the entire episode. Because in some ways, this one is for the most part.
I mean, I guess you had them playing basketball for a bit, but that was kind of still part of it, you know?
Yeah, they even said it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. It's interesting that Rouka kind of brought up the whole thing of, wait, you like girls, right? And it's like, wait, what was the OP about? All right,
Okay.
so Nomachi Rouka and Kambaru Tsuruga, they have themselves a basketball match.
Yep.
And a conversation that leads towards a little bit more of an understanding of what's going on with Tsuruga.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot more details regarding Rouka.
Oh, yeah. No.
I have questions, but
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, so everything that they did for the backstory, I feel like tracked really well, right? Like,
right.
Like sometimes with Monogatari, I can get kind of lost with some of the philosophy behind things. This wasn't it, though, and especially given that Rouka is set up in this sort of antagonistic role, right? I kind of like, you know, I kind of expected it to be something that was that begged a bit more mystery, you know, from it of like, okay, but what's the real deal now?
Well, there is the mystery,
right? Because they do have
collecting the devil,
right? Exactly, and
parts.
yeah, I guess, and because they're able to sort of allocate that to a different part of the conversation, or potentially just a different conversation entirely.
Yeah.
But that whole story of her breaking her leg and then the girl that said, you know, I'm really glad that I have someone else that I can look down on, makes me feel better. And the idea that like her saying that the misery tasted like honey, like and it stayed even after she was gone. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yikes.
All right.
There's a lot of people that end up in situations where the great thing that they had given to them is essentially taken away.
Okay, yeah.
And there's that feeling of the fall being that much harder because of the...
you know what you lost kind of a thing. Or, well...
No, because they went so high with the thing that they lost, basically. Like, the thing that took them so much higher, whereas if someone lost something that they never really valued, like, because it didn't take them that high, the fall would be just less, so to speak. Yeah. And when we get to this bit with Rouka, and she ends up finding that a lot of the things that I almost thought they were going to go for was that she saw the superficiality of people coming in and caring for her after having lost something, was actually, no, that was something that was really heartwarming for her. It was actually that the person that came in and was like, I really needed to know that someone else out there had a situation that was worse than me. But because of the unique aspect of her then sharing the miserable situation she was in to Rouka, they licked each other's wounds, as Rouka put it there.
Right.
And that imagery, misery loves company, you know?
Yep.
Is like, oh, that's some good imagery. Just to think about like what that would mean for a character and a person, just a person in general.
Well, and you know, talking about licking each other's wounds, that immediately makes me think of Kizu, you know, because that was sort of how that story ended off on, right?
Yeah, the wound,
Yeah, exactly. But then it also, and I don't know if this is just like, if this is supposed to be, like, this connection is probably arbitrary, but when Kanbaru fought Araragi in her first arc, there's the point where she licks him and then, like, it goes into a cut and blood spurts everywhere. But the idea of it, the idea of it being a licking of each other's wounds, when it's something where it is something that's so malicious as well, like
oh, malicious.
Yeah, because
what do you mean?
Well, because it's something where they are absolute, like,
I don't think it's malicious at all.
Okay.
I think if anything, they are entirely realizing that it's a selfish thing. Selfishness is not malice. Malice is, I wish for pain to go across the border from me to you.
Sure, and I guess it's not wishing for pain to happen, it's just being really grateful for the pain that's there.
Well, right, because it's a survival thing. It's based on needing their needs met. individually. So it's
sure.
oh good, I'm going to vampirically of sorts, lick your wound and be sustained by the blood of your open wound.
And the thing that I found really interesting is that in a situation like that, you might expect that becomes something that repeats, right? Much like, say, in Kizu, how that was an ongoing relationship.
Sure.
And yet Rouka was like, no. I said her problem was fixed because I didn't want her to keep coming back.
Right.
That basically that taste of honey from her misery was something that wasn't going to go away, right? She had already gotten her fill
of her,
right? And now it was just to go to someone else. And that very much has a devil feel to it. Like
well, yeah, I mean,
man.
It ties also to things of the vampire aspect of our main boy as well. So what I think this is setting up is that in the same respect that that the misery collector in Rouka is one where she is going about and collecting different flavors, if you will, of misery.
Sure.
She's not the voodoo doll kind of, I have an assemblage of all the pieces of all the people's misery there. But she is like that in the essence that there is a devil body part assemblage happening on her own body.
Yes.
Which means she is either trying to repair or ascend to herself to that point where she is more capable,
right,
or covering up her own misery with the misery of others, and that's just it's basically that simple.
Well, I think
or is there more to it?
I think it might be able to be summed up with what she said about running away.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
Because
that's definitely
with how this story is set up, right? Given the fact that they're approaching both of them as main characters in this setup, makes me think that there's a growth that needs to happen for both of them, right? With Kanbaru,
definitely.
It's a lot more straightforward, right? And I feel like she's already begun a lot of that journey, right? With learning to not run away and all of that stuff. But with Rouka, I think it would make sense, and I think they're kind of setting it up here, in that Kanbaru's problem was running away. Rouka doesn't see running away as a problem, right? So there's a nice flip side to this, right? They're very opposite, and opposites attract, on the one hand, but also just the idea that that she said she wanted to defy fate and flee fate, right? And
it's something you can do.
That's something you can do, yes. And in this situation, maybe it's something where, in order to not face her own misery, she can turn it into something that's self-sustaining enough, right?
Okay.
Where her entire strategy and the way she's coped is by running away continuously, and she just wants to get better at running away so that she can constantly be running away and it won't ever catch up with her. And maybe that's the whole point behind the constantly finding more people to get that extra source of misery, honey, and all that stuff, and then also the parts of the devil. Now maybe there's some more literal aspect of what the devil will give her,
But yeah, it's usually something at the very least in the past where it ties back, the aberration of sorts ties back to some aspect of the internal struggle of the character. Now, we were actually getting perspective Rouka thoughts this episode, which seemed rather odd, so I kind of wanted to go back and make sure we caught a couple of those there when there were some key ones there. Are there any ones specifically that you're like, I want to make sure I got?
Well, later on in the episode, I feel like there was some at the beginning, but later on in the episode it gets a lot tougher because they're both being very open with each other. The whole thing of talking about the basketball matches being a very intimate conversation, so we might as well get it all out into the open, right? So how much of it is her perspective from her own internal state versus just, well, she's sharing everything, so, there you go.
So, in short, what we have... short. Rouka's short.
Yeah.
We have a situation where a character had a problem, a source of misery in their life.
Yeah.
Now, there's the whole aspect of wishing upon it and all that, but basically another person wanted to help, and therefore took their misery upon themselves, as a way of collecting it because they like it, for one. But two, there's this whole visual contradiction potentially going on here with the fact that this person is becoming the monster by slowly and surely attaching the misery of others to themselves. Now, there was a whole aspect of ownership that was kind of interesting, and I wondered if they were going to go into like literal past stuff with regards to, you know, potentially surrogates, you know, mom or family in general. But the point I think they're making here with that is that this isn't sustainable for Rouka. And yet the way Rouka kind of mentioned it is that, you know, running away is a very valid option for, like forever.
In the long term, yeah.
Like the long term. So is there another aspect of this that we're not cluing into? Or is this the blind spot of Rouka as a character in that her past has informed this worldview?
Yeah.
Thus, the future will continue to perpetuate it until it doesn't work.
And how far will it until it doesn't work, right? How far will she be able to take it?
Right.
And in what way do both of them need to learn and grow from each other, right? Because there's a lot of situations that Kanbaru could learn, you know, of like, hey, yeah, it's okay to run away sometimes, you know, like you don't have to get down on yourself because of that necessarily, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's good, you know, that can be good for her to learn. But then also, yeah, you can't run, like, maybe you could run away forever, but what kind of a life is that, right? Like if it gets to the point where, yeah, she completely turns into, you know, a devil, right? She has all the pieces, you know, she's formed Voltron and everything, and what, she uses the wishes of the, you know, like the legs and the paws and all that stuff to completely turn herself, and if she can keep running away faster and faster, then nothing will catch up with her. Okay, but where's the point where, because with Rouka, she's so steadfast with her ideology, right, of running away and collecting misery and all that stuff, that I can't fully see where she will, what growth will happen, because I feel like I don't have a good enough baseline for her as a person. There's just, you know, temperance with what she has as her philosophy, right? But what would that look like, and what would bring it about, and all of that stuff? I'm not sure.
There's a couple things that I feel like they also set up as far as mystery goes to make things feel a little bit more ominous regarding Rouka. And that is that there's this aspect of, okay, Rouka's about to tell the story. She basically prefaces the whole thing by saying,
this isn't going to make you happy.
Well, no, I'm talking about the part where she's saying, I'll just show you real quick.
The story about the devil parts, or earlier?
Earlier.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Basically saying that there's this whole aspect of promises.
And eventually the promise becomes null and void.
Well, they're not for keeping or breaking. You just put off keeping the promise, and eventually the promise is nullified. Now, I kind of look at that and see that we have two characters who are in a rivalry of sorts, and I see that as basically like a relationship. It's a form of a relationship.
Sure.
If you keep putting off connecting with this person with a relationship for so long, essentially the whole thing just kind of nullifies. It basically ceases to exist. There's not any ground for it to stand on here. And what it seems like Rouka's saying is that the kind of story that she's about to tell is one of running away, which is literally what we hear about in her backstory.
Right.
But then makes a point of saying, this isn't really a story, though. It's more like an irritating afterword that follows a basketball player meeting the end of their athletic life. Which I find to be rather interesting. Because this whole aspect of collecting these demon parts is making her into a better athlete than Kanbaru, or than Tsuruga. So, the end of their athletic life for now, or is this something where this is the simple motivation? Is just that I don't want to lose this. I want to go back to the way things were with what I had, even though she kind of mocks Kambaru by saying, "Oh, that's an average wish. That's pretty normal. Like that's basically what you wanted with Senjugaharos, to go back to the way things were."
Right.
But then this line is just kind of casually dropped. It does seem more like a devil than a monkey, but Kambaru, this isn't the only devil I have on my body, and it's like, like a really harsh like zoom in, like, oh my god, this is a big deal, and then starts telling the story.
Right.
What's the other devil?
Yeah.
That Rouka has on her body.
Like maybe it's the part of herself that gets so drunk off of other people's misery, like
her heart or something.
Yeah, because one of the main reason why I'm struggling to get a sense of like where her arc will, or where her progression and growth as a character will end up by the end of this arc, because like even if you don't know how something's going to happen, usually because of foreshadowing and things like that, in order to have that really cathartic climax, there will be things that seed where it's going, right?
Sure.
So that way when it happens, you know that this is what was supposed to happen, right? She's so drunk off of this way of life that I don't see how that can really come to a head other than by it eventually failing her.
Well, let's unpack that. What are the instances we see here in the present where she is drunk off of that?
When she's playing basketball with Kambaru.
Okay, so is that the Misery Collection, though? Or is that the devil parts, though?
I feel like they have to be kind of linked.
Well, they can be.
Like,
but
like maybe the devil part is the. Oh, okay. What if this is what it was?
Okay.
The devil part is the extension of the misery collecting, because the misery collecting isn't quite enough anymore, right? She wants to still be running away, and she wants to get back that thing that she had lost. So, in addition to collecting misery and whatnot, she also wants these devil pieces so that she can get back to that that place of being able to be athletic and whatnot.
Okay, that brings up a great point then. If she was doing that, she wouldn't be running away anymore. She would actually be running away to eventually be able to stop, confront, and deal with the problem.
Like try and run full circle around the world to get back to the point where she was before.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
But given the way that she's doing it,
But is it actually going to work?
Is it right?
And so that's where I think they're building it up towards, actually.
Sure.
It's the idea of it's not about running away forever. It's about running away until the actual problem itself is nullified.
And maybe there will come a point where she does actually it kind of works, right? She does the whole running away thing. She collects all the devil parts and whatnot, and she realizes that maybe it's still not enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking about the word promise and thinking about what that could actually apply to here, not just within the context of her relationship with Tsuruga. It's going to be hard for me going back to. I'm going to switch into calling her Tsuruga from now on. Yeah, just calling her Tsuruga. I like it because of Kaiki's whole influence in the previous episode. But there's a possibility here that the promises are the things that are actually her internal problem. Her issue with that.
Well, the promise
she ran away from the bond of basically the sports themselves, the teams associated with them, the in some way the promise to herself to be probably good at the sport, so she intentionally made things more difficult so that she would stand out less.
Right.
This seems like the kind of person, though, that would end up just with not many friends. So
right, and she so far definitely doesn't have them, and I feel like the misery is how she kind of copes and satiates that.
Sure.
One of the things, though, that is interesting about how she's doing this is that the very seeking of the misery and the devil parts and everything is because of the promise, essentially, that it will help. Right. And yet the fact that she's continually seeking these things probably means that it isn't really helping, right?
Sure.
Like it's getting staved off. So
I have a very interesting kind of take on things here.
Yeah.
She has a wish.
Or
That's
maybe
probably
multiple. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going with this thing that obviously everyone has plenty of wishes, but for this story, I think Rouka has one wish.
Okay.
And I think we might have already been told what it was.
Which is?
I'm not sure.
For everyone to have talent, or?
That was something brought up here.
Well, yeah, I mean, because she's collecting the devil parts, right? And so far, what we've gotten about the devil parts as far as, mechanics is that they can grant wishes, right? But there's some super negative consequences to it, right? And like she mentioned wanting to be taller, and that if she wished that, it might just, kill everybody that was currently taller than her. That way she was the tallest person in the world.
Right, that was basically the comedy aspect of Monogatari coming through and reminding us how wishing for general things is probably a bad idea. You should be very specific.
You make a contract with the demon, you better show up with a 900-page document, be read and vetted carefully.
Exactly.
So in this situation, maybe it's something where... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's so disconnected from people already that I feel like there's a part of her that wouldn't really care too much if she caused suffering to other people through her wishes, because she collects misery anyways,
I don't know about that. I think that they're really trying to bring up this fine line between the antagonist aspect of her being the one collecting a devil demon body parts, which is the thing of Kaiki being like, don't mess with that.
Right.
Avoid that. Stay away from that, because Kaiki already knows, based on him being able to see this apparently, that Suruga has essentially already had the arm removed. So in this case, that might be tied to something bigger, but her goal still ended up being something where she had a selfish reason, obviously, for telling them that their problems could be solved, but she liked it so much that stuff ended up working. That it ended up being something that she stuck with. Maybe what it is that she liked it when life basically reacted positively to her talent being utilized. So she discovered, I have a talent for this. I use it, and the world revolves around it and moves and bends with it. So maybe... Go ahead. What's up?
So you brought up this idea of that the way that she was, drinking up other people's misery was very vampiric, right? I can imagine that if I was a vampire, the thing that I would want most of all would not be more food; it would be to be satisfied.
Oh, sure.
Because the in the way that she's going about doing things, it seems like it makes me think like Ungouliant or something, where it's like constantly needing to eat more until in the utmost famine you devour yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the monkey paw and everything, the devil parts that she's collecting and attaching to her body is an example of how she's already kind of devouring herself. And she mentioned that there was something else on her that was another devil, aspect. So so maybe it's something where her ultimate wish is actually to be satisfied, and this was and because the real thing that she's running away from is the fact that she is dissatisfied, right?
Sure.
That she has misery and she isn't able to deal with it, right? So she deals with it by drowning herself in other people's misery, right? The human brain can only interpret one source of pain at a time.
Right.
So if it's someone else's, there you go, right?
Right. So the obvious solution is that she at some point needs to face her own misery.
Right. And that can be where Kanbaru comes in, because Kanbaru is all about wanting to not run away. And the way they can, because ideally, especially if, Hana, Flower, young love, it's something, to have it be something she helps her with, right?
Partnered up,
They go through it together. So maybe that's what it is.
I like it. I like it. I see a lot of potential there. And I think the biggest thing also of it is that it ends up being something where Tsuruga basically gives her the opportunity to save herself by giving her the strength necessary to confront it, and then therefore it ends up being a thing where maybe there's like some big like kind of like exorcism type moment where the demon part that's been assembled then completely kind of removes and gets separated, and then they get to fight that thing together.
Sure. That would be awesome.
Maybe it'll be into the context of a basketball match. That would be fun.
Maybe.
But
one of the other things that I'm curious about is that in the OP, they show a lot more history than they seem to be mentioning in the actual episode.
Yeah, so we don't know how literally we're supposed to take it.
I'm not sure how literally we're supposed to take it, but for a second I'm just gonna put on a tinfoil hat or whatever in the let's take it not literally, in that because we know that they were rivals before, right? Okay, cool, awesome.
They've known each other at least for a
they've known each other for a decent amount of time. But as far as like the whole relationship that we saw unfold and everything and fall apart in the context of the OP, and it was clearly them younger. What if it wasn't necessarily that happening when they were younger because they were just say rivals or something, but it's actually from the standpoint of in a place of innocence, because in both of their cases they've been hurt, right?
Sure.
With Senjugahara and then also with the breaking of the leg, right?
Okay.
And there's scars that basically carry over as a result of that, right?
Definitely.
And the real question is, will something new be able to grow there? So maybe it's the plight of where they're going to go in this arc, not actually what happened before.
All right.
Because they're going to help each other in these ways and grow closer and stuff, and then there's going to be that scary part in the middle where something goes kind of wrong, but maybe at the end they'll be able to have a happy ending, and they'll be able to sort of put all that stuff behind them, defeat the devil,
Except in the OP, it ends with them having their rivalry through basketball. So I almost don't see the OP as having a happy ending. I don't see
especially with that ominous bit at the very end.
I don't see... I was following with you until you basically started bringing up how it'll have a happy ending.
And maybe it doesn't, but maybe it's something where even if they don't have a happy ending, it's something where they're still able to help each other in some way, shape, or form.
Well, that's a positive aspect of the partnership versus rivalry thing, but it kind of breaks a little bit the flow of what Monogatari is about, which is about people solving their own problems.
Yes,
and
that is very true.
This arc, in some ways, is an abomination of that principle by saying that you can feed off others to solve your own problems.
Okay, crazy thought. Okay. All right. Flowers can be a symbol of life. They can also be a symbol of death, in that you leave the flowers at the grave, all those things, right?
Flowers bloom over the...
Right, flowers bloom over the grave, right? It's a sign that there was life at some point, right? And given how
Rebirth.
the OP goes, and rebirth and all that stuff, given how the OP goes, maybe that is a representation of their story in this present day and time. But because Rouka is so drunk on the misery that she's been, drinking from the people around her, she isn't able to turn away from it, and that's why there's the ominous end to the OP. So it's something where we have this great journey that unfolds and their relationship develops and whatnot, but then at some point there's some aspect of Rouka that isn't able to give it up, that and maybe that's how it would work. And because she's a character that's not one of the core cast, it makes sense that if you wanted to have a non-happy ending, you would have it happen with a character that isn't one of the core cast, because ideally you'd want to see all the people in the core cast have their good resolution, right?
I mean,
I don't know if there's something there, but maybe that's because I feel like the stuff, the OP is almost too specific with a lot of the things that it does.
It's I don't think we've ever had an OP where they showcased a mini story within the confines of two characters.
Right.
It was always a single character, well, not always, it's most of the time a single character getting kind of a focused spotlight and getting a little bit of insight there. And Kaiki's and Senjugahara's in Koi had aspects of that.
But it was more of telling about a story that happened rather than telling a story in the OP?
Well, actually showing the story.
Sure.
It's actually kind of telling us that there was a story.
Right.
Because Kaiki's and Senjugahara's had moments within the song, if anything, that was communicating more of the story.
Yeah.
But the actual showcasing of it in the visuals, I think this is a next level kind of moment for Monogatari with regards to that. But all right, next episode we're going to be getting the details regarding the collection of devil body parts. Now, I actually think it matters a little bit, but is it devil or demon?
I believe it's devil.
I think devil.
Because it's Rouka devil. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up a silly thing, but there is only, I believe, one other character in the show that, outside of these two, that's actually referred to as a devil. And that is Koyomi Oni-chan when he's
Oni
being taught...
Oni-chan?
Yeah, Oni Oni-chan, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Right, so... just something I found to be, like, rather interesting as they're bringing up this whole concept of, you know, devil body parts and stuff like that. And there's this whole kind of freaky thing with regards to Ogi being this big, like, staring you in the face mystery box of, like, what is the real reason for why Ogi is around everyone's story, it seems, moving around and just doing all these things. And
one Ogi trying to make a god out of Sengoku, and then here, you know, later we have someone who's trying to collect devil parts, and maybe Ogi is, you know, trying to do something similar. You know, I don't know.
I just basically found it to be interesting that this episode, being primarily an expository form of backstory, was the one where they're like, all right, now we're going to focus probably more intently on what the main growth part of this arc will be for Rouka by giving this bit here. But that meant that the creator chose to have Ogi show up in the previous two episodes before any of this other stuff, basically giving the full details as to the arc happening. What was that? So is the Ogi stuff actually something that's more kind of what we've seen in the past, where it applies to like some grander narrative rather than it actually applying
too heavily
wholesale to this arc in Hanamonogatari?
Although usually like
usually there is some tie-in.
There's usually quite a bit of heavy tie-in, you know, whether it's immediately noticeable of what it is or not. You know, in the case of talking about, you know, Hachikuji being gone in a different arc than when Hachikuji actually finally disappears.
Right.
And then the whole point of pointing Sengoku towards the thing that will make her a god, but not realizing or remembering that Ogi told her that until much later, you know, after the conversation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, y'all, we got a lot to look forward to here. If you want to see the next episode's reaction discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. Any level support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. There's a huge community in there for Monogatari. You can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yeah, because, you know, this is totally your first time hearing about it. I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines. It's really cool, and it's on Amazon if you want to get it. Link in the description below. It's in both hardback and ebook, so go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.